The following production is intended for entertainment purposes only. We are not legal professionals. We do not speak for any government agency, and the opinions expressed here are our own. Relax.
3, 2, action.
Welcome to the Lawless Podcast with Justin and Clayton. I'm Clayton, is my buddy Justin, and we just talk. That's
we
it.
just talk. And I noticed you're not wearing your sunglasses this morning.
No, I'm not. I'm not in a sunglasses vibe right now.
Yeah.
I do have them with me though, in case I get a little fired up.
Just in case it gets sunny.
Yeah. Oh, I got my readers underneath my lokes.
Yeah, that works out well. But those aren't even the same. How many pair of sunglasses you got?
These aren't the rad sunglasses.
Yeah, those aren't the ones you had the other day.
I never told you about those. I found those at Margaritaville water park that they have here in Buford, Georgia.
Okay, like were they sitting on a lawn chair?
No, they were
you
buried.
Just found them under someone's towel.
They were buried.
I also found a wallet.
Yeah, but I left all the cards. No, it was in the sand. It was in the sand where we set up. We went and set up our chairs and stuff, and it was in the sand, and they were pretty mucky and grimy, and so I put them on as a goof. Well, then I took my shirt and cleaned them off just a little bit, just because that's something I always do, and they cleaned off real well. I was like, I'll be darned. These are my sunglasses now.
It's a gift from the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I acquired my glasses. Not the exact way, but I was running, and so you got the county line and 63rd. It's a pretty major intersection. 63rd South, county line east. I was running, and there was a pair of these Oakley sunglasses in the middle of the road on eastbound 63rd. So I was like, well, I can't let these get run over, but they were nice glasses. So I couldn't figure out how does somebody lose a pair of sunglasses? It's kind of like when you see a random shoe in the road and you're like, what happened here? So I was like, somebody's going to come back. Maybe they were biking or whatever. And so I set them on there was like a drain area, it's got concrete over it. So I set them on there, and I was like, if they're still here tomorrow, then that means somebody hasn't come back for them, and the Lord meant them for me. Mm-hmm. So I left them there. I came back the next day. They were still there, and I was like, yeah, they're mine now.
All right, Jesus, you gave me these glasses.
Thank you, Lord, for these beautiful Oakleys that you've bestowed upon me.
So what's new? Anything?
Oh, man. Yeah, a lot. Kind of a lot, but I'm still, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like maybe I talk too much about heavy stuff. We've talked about that. So so I want to make just a concerted effort to not make everything heavy. Some religious or theological thoughts that I've been working through. Some of the same old mental health stuff that we've talked about. And I have to give you credit, which I probably don't do often enough, or when I do, it's sometimes backhanded.
I appreciate you saying that.
But you've given me a different perspective on some different types of music.
On hip hop.
Yeah. I can't say that I necessarily it's not my go-to.
Right.
And I have to acknowledge. So I'm kind of. We talked about this last time. I'm kind of a music snob.
Yeah.
An
elitist.
I like to think that I know my way around the entire music scene. Right. All different things. And we talked the last couple days ago about how I attributed a song to a wrong performer or whatever. And a couple days ago, we were talking about conscious rap, and we started talking about some other types of we started talking about some specific artists. they're not conscious rap. And I just want to clear the air. Who I was talking about listening to is not conscious rap. It's a different genre altogether.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't want anybody out there to be like, this dude thinks like, no, that's not the case. We were talking about two different things, and it may have sounded like I was conflating the two. And I just want to go on the air to say I wasn't.
Okay.
So
Okay.
as long as we can straighten that up, then I'll be able to go about my day worry free.
No, I'm fearful of this in myself, but you never trust someone who thinks they're perfect all the time. Well, sometimes you can't help it, but I'm talking about like if you've known someone for some time, for some years, and they've never been wrong about anything ever, like,
yeah,
that's weird.
That's a red flag.
Yeah. If there's leadership that's always right and the blame is never on them, and they come right out and say the problem isn't leadership, then the problem might actually be
might be leadership.
It might be leadership there.
Yeah. I always kind of reached the concept of question authority, like challenge authority.
Yes.
Because if the authority can't handle a challenge, then it's probably fake.
Right.
It's probably positional authority. Because if I can't take questioning, if I can't take being challenged, if I can't take being told that I'm wrong, then I must not really have authority.
Right.
It's just in title only. So yeah, I think it's good to, honestly, it's probably good to be wrong.
Yeah, it is good to, I don't think you're learning if you're not being wrong every once in a while.
Yeah.
You're definitely not finding the edges. Excuse me. My voice has not recovered since Zach Bryan, not fully all the way.
I don't feel like we actually dove deep enough into that concert, by the way. I
Okay.
want to dive a little bit deeper.
Okay.
But what were you singing your heart out or something?
Yeah, I was belting it. Everybody was, though. Everyone was belting every single word. I remember we talked about, that's one of the things that makes that concert so great, or that makes him different than, we were kind of bashing on Nashville music, but really.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, dude, I heard a song by Co Wetzel last night. And thought it was really good. I need to, and we had just talked about him.
Well, now Co's got your stamp of approval.
Well, at least that song. So the song that I was listening to is called Drunk Driving.
Oh, yeah. I know that song.
Is that one of his main songs?
That's like one of his popular songs. Yeah. It's
okay.
I think that song's kind of an FB.
Well, that's exactly probably why I like it.
Yeah.
It's right up my alley. So I was asking my daughter, it was in her car that I was listening to it. If that's kind of his normal sound, she'd never listen to him. Is that pretty typical of his sound?
Yeah. Some of the other songs of his, though. I've sent you some others of his. I don't know. That's
that doesn't mean I've listened to them.
Yeah, but I know you did. Something to talk about. Well, at least you told me you listened to it.
That song. I did.
Okay.
I don't remember
that. That's his normal voice. Kind of, yeah. I don't know. That's maybe a third of his type of music is that style, like drunk driving again.
Yeah. And I guess what I mean by that is, like, is he kind of low key, kind of FB? Like, does he sing FB music?
He can be, man. I think he's a party. So he's like, he's a Jekyll and Hyde. Sometimes he's like a bar, shit kicker, bar fight kind of party, mullet and big sunglasses. Like sometimes he's like that. And then sometimes he's an FB.
He's just sad.
Yeah. And what sucks is those songs have a good sound. Like those are melodically pleasing. But when you listen to the lyrics, which I have to, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Get this out of here.
I was thinking about that with I told you about how I was kind of trying to pay attention to the connection of mind, body, spirit, and having them all work together instead of separating them and
Yeah.
demonizing some of them, whatever. But I was thinking about that with the mind. I think it was that I wonder if I wonder if you listen to a type of music, a style of music, or even like just the scientific aspect of it, music in a minor chord. I think that's going to have a physiological impact on you.
Yeah.
Like kind of like the idea of strumming a guitar string and it's going to vibrate on the other guitar or piano string, whatever. It's going to vibrate the other string that's the same note. Depressing music, is it going to physically make you depressed, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 1000%. And I can't cite any sources right now, but I bet it wouldn't take long to find. There's been tons of different studies on how music affects biological matter, like on how they played different types of music, like classical, country, heavy metal, hip hop around plants that were growing, and how just like how the different patterns of music affected just biological growth differently. And also, I mean, there's a ton of information studies about how the input, specifically music, and when you're in a semi-conscious mode, like when you're not fully paying attention, when it's just background music, or maybe when it's just running music, how that can affect your psyche.
Interesting. I remember I'd heard that before because that was one of the things they always used to talk about at camp or just in church in general, is that rock music kills plants. So that's how you know it's bad.
I don't think that's true. I remember the one that I saw was on Mythbusters. The first time that I saw that, whatever it was, the higher sound wave pattern or the tighter sound wave pattern actually stimulated cell growth.
Well, I got a hunch that you could probably take most of my childhood and put it on Mythbusters, and and most of it would get busted within half an hour.
So going back to what I first started saying about the Zach Bryan concert or the Zach Bryan in general, is that's why it was so good. That's why his music is so good, is because it's very relatable. All of his lyrics and his songs you can put yourself in, versus kind of the cheesecake kind of country, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Crap country.
I guess the problem though, and I think this is one of the reasons why I listen to bummer music, is because for one, and we talked about this, for one, the bummer music is, to me, is more relatable, it's more real. But also the music, like the lyrics are important to me.
Mhm.
Like I really have to listen to the lyrics. And the problem is that with upbeat or happy music, the lyrics are just shitty.
Yeah.
And I can't, so like even upbeat music that I listen to, like say Bad Religion or just punk, whatever, like it may be musically less depressing, but lyrically it's probably more depressing.
Yeah.
So I really can't find a happy medium, because if I want to find positive messages, it seems like it's with shitty music. And I don't know that there's,
until Your Honor, may I present hip hop. Hip hop has positive lyrics with good music.
We talked about this like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Positive lyrics.
And I was right then, and I'm right now. Yeah. I started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
I'm not going to go back through and read
1 gold watch, 2 gold chains, 6 gold rings. Damn. Yeah. Trinidad James. All right.
There is, I will make an exception or a caveat that metal, there's a lot of metal, especially Christian metal, that is very, very heavy. That does have positive message. I guess the difference there is just can't understand it. Like growling and screaming, which I love. I love growling music.
Yeah, okay.
But at that point, the lyrics don't really matter because I can't understand what they're saying.
I've always respected, like a bunch of my friends have liked this music.
Yeah.
I get it and I respect it. I don't want to talk trash on it, but that was never for me. Yeah. I could never cross that threshold into I can't.
What about What about the screaming? Can you do screaming?
In small doses. I mean, do you think well, I don't know. I guess it depends. What about like 80s scream metal? I'm thinking about like Dio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig Dio, or I don't know, like Megadeth and Slayer and
See,
Metallica. I don't think they're really screamers though.
no, and this is funny. I was having this conversation with my brother that there was a time, probably in the 90s, maybe the 80s, when like Slayer would have been the hardest music I could conceive of.
Yes,
And we've gotten quite a bit harder since then.
quite a bit harder.
So I wonder, I don't even know if music like that existed back then. And again, I say that I'm a music connoisseur. Obviously, I don't know too much because I'm not even sure when that style originated.
No, I don't know. Slayer is as hard as I want to get.
Yeah.
I can't go past, because I'd say Metallica, and Metallica is my favorite rock band, and they are definitely what I would consider metal. But like some of the metalheads today wouldn't even consider Metallica real metal.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I would say hard rock at the most, but even that,
What about like their first stuff, their first couple
their
albums?
their first albums would be the only ones I would consider hard rock.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean anything past Black,
No,
I would
no
consider
load,
rock.
no reload.
No,
What Death Magnetic?
I never listened to Magnetic.
It's got some good ones on there. The Day That Never Comes is probably one my favorite from their newer stuff. They have some decent newer stuff. I just don't know their new catalog,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
as much as I know their old stuff.
Which, to be honest, their old stuff is so good that you can't compare.
Well, right. Yeah. But their new stuff is good. But you're right. It's not as good as the old stuff, but I think it's like crossing crossing the same river twice. You know, they say it's impossible for a man to cross the same river twice because the rivers
Yeah,
has
yeah.
changed and so is the man. It's impossible to go back to that time period. Who what bands have reinvented themselves, you think? I think Aerosmith went
Um,
through a time of reinventing themselves, didn't they?
I don't know. There was an Aerosmith song on the other day, and I was struck by how terrible they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, this is what was the song? It was just so cheesy.
Yeah.
And it was I remember thinking it was cool when I was younger.
They definitely transitioned into that, like, I don't know. There's a name for the, but I don't remember. I forget what it is.
I think the name for it is bullshit music,
Okay.
and that's what they
But
transitioned into.
soundtrack rock or soundtrack music is kind of what they transitioned into.
Well, that song that I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure was on a soundtrack.
Yeah.
I don't like I said, I don't remember
I
what it
could
was.
stay awake just to hear you.
That's a good question. I would have a hard time thinking of. I know that there was a song a while back by Nickelback that was terrible. That I was like, "Who are you trying to be?" Like who they were apparently, or at least it seemed to me, they were trying to reinvent themselves as a hard rock band. But
I think Nickelback's always been pretty good. Doesn't everyone agree that Nickelback is pretty good?
listen, I'm not. I don't. I don't want to jump on the bandwagon because I know that a lot of people
I
hate them.
actually think that they're cool.
They had a good album. Silver Side Up was a good album.
Okay.
Um, but then after that, like they're not as bad as everybody says they are. But
No.
it's the same. It's like the Five Finger Death Punch.
Now,
Not
and I gotta
not
defend even Five Finger Death Punch a little bit, because didn't they have one or two songs when they first came out that were good?
they were okay.
Yeah,
They just
and
didn't have any substance to them. It was just bullshit music.
sure. They seem like they've been pieced together, maybe.
Yeah.
Um they redid Bad Company. I thought that
That was good.
they did a real good
Yeah.
version of Bad Company.
Yeah, that was a good cover. But outside of that, so they're a heavy version of Nickelback. And my issue with Nickelback is I just don't think there's any substance. Like, it's just a complete, I don't know, waste of time, or I don't know.
Now, what about this? Oof. There was a time in my life where I would have taken this question personal, or at least how you answered it personal. But now I really don't care. What do you think of the band Creed?
Love Creed.
Love Creed, right?
I do love Creed. Yes.
They were solid.
Yes. And I love the fact that they've got this second wind.
Yeah.
They're like that. There's kind of a cult following now.
People are discovering them for the first time.
Yeah. Which is kind of a cool thing about social media, and specifically TikTok. Like, my daughter she'll discover these songs that, like, awesome songs. She was listening to Deftones the other day, and I was like, where did you hear this?
Hell yeah.
From some TikTok video.
Really?
So yeah, so it is cool and that's probably, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what kind of spurred Creed's current burst of popularity. I don't know.
Deftones used to make me nervous when I was a late teenager, early 20s, because I was still holding on to that Pentecostal theology of, like, music can be demonic and it can slip in your head and stuff like this, because they were so good, and, like, in a scary way. You know, almost like the Nine Inch Nails kind of creepy music.
They kind of have, it's almost like a droning sound that just kind of like works itself into your psyche. I can see where you're going with that.
That's why, I was scared of that, but something that was a little bit more tolerable for me that also became one of my all-time favorite bands. So I don't know if I put them quite up with Metallica, but pretty close, is Tool. I'm a big Tool fan.
Yeah, I like Tool. I don't. So Tool is a band that I like and I respect, I appreciate, but I've never really gotten into I've never been a big fan, or at least I've never invested the energy into checking them out that I should. Because every song I hear,
you never bought a CD?
No. I've had several songs on my jam lists, my what would you call that?
In your algorithm. Oh yeah.
My mixtape. But I've never owned a full album.
Yeah. Tool was good. In our list of things to talk about, one time, or I was checking that list out today, and one of the things I wrote on there, and I gotta write better notes. One of the things I wrote was, I discovered why I don't like good music, quote unquote, and I'd like to explain. Well, it's been so long since I wrote that, I don't know what my answer is.
You have no explanation?
Yeah. But I was willing to I remember thinking I was willing to concede that some of the music I like is not what most people would call good. Some of it.
Yeah. Like Cree War Cry, is that what
Northern Cree?
The Northern Cree. That's not one.
That is a good band.
Okay.
They're a powwow drum band, and they are awesome. Who, HU, not the Who, but there's a Mongolian metal band. They are screamers, kinda, called Who.
Yeah,
they're pretty legit.
I've checked that one out. My buddy, good.
I was gonna say they had a collab with Papa Roach, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.
My buddy was telling me about a band. I trying to remember what they're called, but he described them as, it sounds like killing goats, I think is what he described it as.
Sounds like a sacrificial altar to Baal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes I see progress. Sometimes I think that you are getting there, and then sometimes I'll send you a song and you blow it off, and I'm just like, yeah, he's lost.
He's
a
a
lost
lost.
cause,
Yeah,
a lost soul.
I get that.
What about you?
Uh,
What you been thinking about anything or doing anything?
I was thinking about some stuff earlier today. Well, I've been thinking about, and I don't know if this is gonna, I guess I kind of don't care, but I kind of do. Um, the politics lately, like the presidential election that we've got going on, it seems like I've given up heart. I've given up on this presidential election myself personally. I'm going to vote for RFK, and I'm in an important swing state, Georgia. I'm going to vote for RFK because I think the worst move, and I haven't looked into this enough. I'm just telling you how I feel, and like from my perception, the worst move Trump did after he had it wrapped up after that assassination attempt, and then he chose JD Vance as his VP. No one's heard of him, and you don't have to dig too deep to find some kind of weird things. And I hate that everyone's been saying weird because I
Yeah,
can tell that that's a talking point that the media has taken.
yeah,
But the shoe fits a little bit. The shoe fits a little bit with that guy. And he just hasn't been, Trump hasn't been making good moves. He did not capitalize on that momentum. He had an ocean of momentum, like a tsunami of momentum, and he did not capitalize on it. JD Vance took him down. The media is propping up Kamala Harris. She's doing blackface right now, and everyone's buying it. And whatever, that's cool. That's her thing. This Tim Waltz guy, I don't love his military. I I wouldn't quite call it stolen valor. There's a bunch of vets accusing him of stolen valor. I wouldn't quite call it stolen valor. He is definitely misrepresenting his military service,
yeah.
but he did serve. He did retire, and he was in an army unit, and he did retire to, pursue a career in politics. So, but yeah, there's some things about his military service. I've given up part on this, and so I've been having lots of conversations recently. I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law, who's a pretty, I wouldn't say typical, but he's pretty mainstream liberal, pretty mainstream Democrat. He lives in Denver, and I mean, yeah, he's a pretty mainstream Democrat right now. We were talking about the election yesterday, and I said, because I saw an article that said RFK contacted both Harris's campaign and
Yeah, I was
Trump's
going to ask you
campaign.
about that.
Well, and I thought that was cool. I told my brother, I said, you know what, if he actually hitched his wagon with Kamala Harris, I might vote for her. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, dude. And I was like, especially if she put him in like an influential position, like in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services, which would cover FDA, or in charge of Department of Justice, cover the ATF and FBI and all them, where I think he could do some real good. I would take that, I think, over over Trump. Yeah, Trump let me down his first time, and I think he's going to do it again this time. He would. I don't think he's going to get elected, but if he did get elected, I think he would let me down again.
So, do you think so? Yesterday I saw two headlines all within hours of each other. Three
And
headlines. One said that RFK had reached out to Kamala's camp, and then he had reached out to Trump's camp. And then, like an hour later, or a couple hours later, he made a statement about how he would never uh, associate with Kamala and how her party is not the party of his dad and uncle and all this kind of stuff. And you can never really overestimate how much misinformation we get. But I'm like, well, one of these things is not true. Either this isn't what he really believes, or he didn't reach out to see if she, to say that he would support her if she had a cabinet position.
yeah,
Or like, surely he wouldn't have reached out to Trump to ask the same thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like somebody's lying.
well, the person I trust the most in that is RFK himself, and he came out on Instagram and said, "I have not reached out to Kamala Harris. I will not be endorsing her. She's not the type of Democrat my
Yeah.
father and my
So
uncle
you
were."
so you believe him when he says that?
Yeah,
You
I
don't
believe him.
think he got shut down?
No, because he has a pretty good track record. You can check him out this year of uh disclosing potentially embarrassing information. Like his someone on his staff was recording him when he had a conversation with President Trump after his assassination attempt, and he said, and they released it, and he apologized for it. Someone, his account, which I guess used to belong to a staffer, but they retitled it and repurposed it for his presidential, run.
Yeah.
His account liked an OnlyFans girl a couple years ago. And so
I think I remember that.
and he was like, "Yeah, that is my account. This used to belong to a staffer. Sorry."
I know that you remember this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Do you remember when you made an OnlyFans page for the FOP?
I wasn't ever going to bring that up. Yeah, I tell stories about that, and people don't believe me.
You can believe it.
Do you remember the story?
Just that you were like, I'm going to create an OnlyFans page for the FOP, and I was like, please don't. And then you sent me a link or a screenshot, and I was like, he did it. What's the story?
So it was right when, and I'm very thankful for the FOP. The FOP served me in my time of need. I'm not a member of it anymore. But when the FOP first started coming up, remember this big, what app was it? There was this giant group chat with everyone in the sheriff's office.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Was it WhatsApp?
I think it was yes, it was. It was WhatsApp.
It was WhatsApp.
And it was when they were trying to pitch the idea of the FOP.
I got in a little bit of trouble with the FOP on WhatsApp a few different times.
That was one of them when you created a OnlyFans page with probably the official logo of the FOP.
Yeah, I copied and pasted it from the FOP page. We were talking about people were talking about how to pay their dues, and they're like, "Oh, we'll take Cash App, Venmo," and I said, "Do you take OnlyFans?" As a joke, and someone was like, "Shut up, stupid." I said, "Okay, now I know my assignment."
Yeah. At which point you went, "Okay,
yeah,
gotcha." Message received.
So I created an OnlyFans page, and by the way, got subscribers. Within a matter of minutes, got subscribers.
People
I'm pretty sure they were bots. I'm pretty sure they were bots, or someone like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some type of bots subscribed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I created an OnlyFans page for the Fraternal Order of Police.
I don't remember our chapter number, but that's probably best. We can just leave that out.
Yeah, that's fine. That was also during, was it the Christmas of 20 or the Christmas of 19? I must have been the Christmas of 20. We were using that same WhatsApp discussion to talk about the Christmas party for the sheriff's, or no, to talk about Christmas for the sheriff's office. No, we weren't talking about Christmas. We were talking about everything. And so I asked on there, is there going to be a Christmas party? And I guess it's best I can't even remember his name, but that short, fat, stupid detective, I think he's a sergeant now.
He's a sergeant now.
Yeah, fuck that guy. He was like, "No, stupid," and tried to dogpile on me on there. And I at that point I just didn't reply, and it caused a civil war between the hardcore conservatives and I guess him.
Yeah.
On that, yeah. So I uninstalled and deleted that app.
That's probably best. I think the only thing that I even use it for now is actually I don't use it, but nonstop, man. People are scammers are trying to get me to give them my WhatsApp number.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I don't see I don't get the benefit. I don't get the scam. I don't like.
Huh.
I'll randomly. In fact, they're usually from New York or California, and I'll just get these dumb messages. I got one just the other day.
I think it might be to hide the evidence.
The evidence of what?
Whatever illegal crime they're trying to rope you into.
I don't know what it could be, because I'll get something like this, where like this one is just a bowl of something. I don't know what it is. Or it'll say, "Hey, are you still coming?" Or
Oh yeah.
just random. "Hey, it's Elisa. Do you remember me?" Obviously, I don't, because it's whatever. And I don't even engage them anymore. But it was always, if you fell for it, it would always be like, "Hey, can we move this to WhatsApp?"
Yeah.
But like, why?
Why?
What are you going to get from my WhatsApp? And maybe you're right. Maybe it's because maybe they're going to propose a crime or something, or I'm sure at the end, I'm sure it has to do with, at some point, if you play along long enough, you got to give them money, or
yeah, it's a
username,
giant,
or they're going to send you a link and you download it or whatever.
yeah, it's a fishing expedition. They're trying to get just as many people as they can into to convince them into buying them a gift card and paying them, their taxes, so they can get their prize, or doing
Man.
whatever.
I mean, I guess if you cast a wide enough net, then maybe it works out for you. But that seems like a lot of work for not a very big return.
I don't want to. We could go off on that trail forever. Sometime we need to talk about. I don't know if we do need to talk about, but people that have been taken advantage of in scams like that.
Yeah.
And like, I wrote a few different reports on that when I was in the sheriff's office, and it just broke my heart.
Yeah.
These gullible people. But anyway, I was asking about RFK because I think I've made some pretty controversial political shifts, ideologically, for myself.
Okay.
And I'm comfortable with it, but I'm willing to say that I'm not perfect on it. So I can take some criticism. Let me ask you about these. Afghanistan's coming up, right? Afghanistan. August 30th is the 3-year anniversary of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. Pretty painful topic for a lot of GWAT veterans like myself. I mean, can't describe enough what an epic failure that withdrawal was. We wasted 20 years and, service members' lives, billions and trillions of dollars, just to give that country right back to the Taliban at the end. Well, since then, since August 30th, 21, the U.S. has given a couple big lump sums totaling to about $8 billion to the country of Afghanistan since our withdrawal. Since we've left them the planes, this isn't counting the planes, this isn't counting the Humvees, this is post our withdrawal. We've been giving financial aid to the government of Afghanistan, which is the Taliban. That's been about $8 billion in lump sums. There's also been $40 million a week cash deposits being flown from the U.S., from New York to Germany and to Afghanistan. And there's a website called sigar.mil, SIGAR.mil, and it's a Department of Defense website. And SIGAR is the office in charge of our monetary
Money laundering?
donation. Yeah, money laundering. But it's documented. Go to sigar.mil, and it's Department of Defense website. And we're giving them about $40 million a week. Still, right? So, I mean, I'm kind of speechless. I don't even know where to begin on just how big of an epic heartbreak that is still going on. That service members were killed fighting this war, and we are now actively paying the people that killed those service members. After that botched, embarrassing withdrawal, I've described before how the people, the Afghanis that helped the American coalition, most of them did not come back because they couldn't bring their families back with them. Like they were going to let them come back at the end, but they wouldn't let them bring their family, so they chose to stay with their family, which I think is pretty natural. And most of those people haven't been heard from since that happened. So that's a heartbreaking thing. Giant failure, Afghanistan. We also at the same time we're funding the Ukraine war, and I don't know. I'm not in favor of funding the Ukraine war, but I can see how people can justify it, I guess. We're also simultaneously funding Israel's war against the Palestinians, if you want to call it a war, and we're also giving aid to the Palestinians. Like, we are aiding both sides actively, and this is all just blatant money laundering, right? We're just giving money to these defense contractors and these, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. So if you think about these trillions and trillions of dollars that we are currently blowing, I don't even know the big transition into or how to transition into this, but in my mind, could that money pay for universal health care in the United States? If we stop sending money to Pakistan, to Egypt, which we are still, Pakistan was hiding Osama bin Laden. We know that. We should have gone to war next with them. Not really, but they were hiding our enemy. If we stop paying for all of that, could we afford a universal health care in the United States?
Yeah, I think without a doubt.
Yeah,
but here's the problem, and I think this is the same thing. I think this is the same motive for not ending the war on drugs. It's a whole industry,
right?
And we can't. I don't think that our economy can handle not being at war or not being in the middle of all of that.
Yeah,
because I just think that there's so much money going back and forth, and there's so many people and contracts and special interests and all of these things that depend on that economy. Like if we stopped giving all of this money, if we stopped supporting these other countries, I think a lot of stuff would fall apart. Just like if we won the war on drugs, which I think we totally could do if we wanted to, it'd come at a massive cost.
What does winning the war on drugs mean? This might derail the conversation.
No, I mean, it can't. It's the same thing. So I said winning the war on drugs. What I mean by that is, if we wanted to, we could make drugs really hard to find. Or, even I was going to say, or you would just have to manufacture your own. But you could even make that really difficult.
Well, other countries have done it. Like some Southeast Asian companies some Southeast Asian countries, or like China or Russia, it's pretty hard to come across drugs in some social circles. Maybe in others, the black market, it might be easier. I don't know, but they have death penalties. Like, they have very severe punishments for. I think those are unjust, but if you wanted to, you could do it.
But and you wouldn't even have to necessarily do that. The first thing you would do if you really, really wanted to end the war on drugs or win the war on drugs is you would secure the border. That's the very first thing you would do. And
I think that should be the top priority for lots of circumstances.
That's a no-brainer. And if you did that, if you significantly slowed the flow of drugs from the southwest border across the rest of the country, you would make significant strides in winning that war. It can't be done, just like you can't win a war on terror, because what
does that mean?
It can't be done. It doesn't even mean anything.
It's like a war against misinformation,
or stop hate, stop racism. You shouldn't be racist. You shouldn't hate,
absolutely,
but you're not going to stop it. It's kind of the same concept, I think.
When I was talking to my brother, I told him if the Democrats would get real on the border because they have this delusionary, and this hasn't been a thing historically because President Obama was pretty tight on the border. And I think Clinton was fairly tough on the border. Just in the last, whatever, 10 years, or I guess 4 years, they had this weird philosophy about the border. I told my brother that if the Democrats would get tight, would get real on the border and stop doing the gun grabs, I might consider that would make me a lot friendlier to them if they would tighten up the border and stop going after guns.
Yeah.
That'd make me a lot friendlier.
I do want to clarify that I think drugs should be legal. I think we should
Sure.
end the war on drugs for the simple fact of they shouldn't be illegal anyway. But if we wanted to actually win, then we could, or at least
Yeah.
again, I'm saying we can't win it, then I'm saying we can. What I'm trying to say is we could have a significant impact if we wanted to.
So let's say in the perfect world, you're the king of the universe. Or you're the king of the United States, right?
Okay.
We stop sending trillions of dollars to countries that hate us and that aren't doing anything for us. We stop sending these countries trillions of dollars, and we tighten up and just care about the United States. Could we afford universal? I mean, obviously we can. Do you think that would be a good thing? Universal health care?
Yeah, well, universal access, I think, would be what I wouldn't be in favor of would be government owned or government facilitated healthcare. Like I don't want to go to a state doctor,
Right.
But I think that it could certainly be. I'm not sure how it would work.
What if the state just paid your bills? Because the thing is, and I'm not an expert, but I've heard a lot about this, and I've heard a lot about this from different sources, is the insurance industry is what's kind of bankrupted the U.S. healthcare industry. And it's because the insurance demands all these tests and basically demands how the doctors get paid. So the insurance is.
Yeah, insurance is a racket.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that no. This is me not having any idea what I'm talking about, but this is how it looks. That's how my perception of it is, that it's just a big racket between the hospitals, the providers, and the insurance companies, and we're just kind of getting screwed by everybody, the consumer.
Yeah, because and the thing is you're still gonna pay.
You've got to.
You're still gonna pay. I have a couple different insurance. Well, I have an insurance policy, and one of the reasons I'm having to make some different moves is because that insurance policy, which is backed up by the U.S. government, they don't pay their bills. They don't pay all of their bills. And so the hospitals and the clinics around here, they're like, hey, we don't like that insurance that you have there. Yeah. So I have to get different insurance.
Yeah. And I mean, just the fact that the insurance companies and the providers have agreements for how much they'll pay for certain things, and then they charge this person. Yes, it's the whole. I think the whole healthcare industry needs a major overhaul.
Yeah.
Which honestly, think about it. What does our legal system needs a major overhaul? Our government needs a major overhaul. Healthcare industry needs a major overhaul.
Yeah. I mean, down from the. Yeah, I think we have to. Man, it's scary to think about what it is, but there has to be some sort of reset. Yeah. Hopefully, it's not. It seems like if it all happens at once, it would be violent. It would feel, or I guess maybe not violence. The word very abrupt. It would be very abrupt and very uncomfortable.
I think you could say that it would feel violent. I think that would be a good description. I mean, it would be like tearing off a limb.
Yeah, it would be an apocalypse.
Yeah.
But everything has to. I mean, the system isn't working, and at some point you have to take a step back and be like, what's it gonna take? Like, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
And and it's just like in recovery or anything else, the first step is to stop, admit there's a problem. Like, we have to stop, everybody, and admit that our political system is not working. Citizens United, what was that, 2009? That's when they decided that corporations can donate to super PACs. Super PACs can make unlimited contributions to political things, or to politicians.
Yeah.
The super PACs can. And so at that point, there was unlimited contributions. There used to be a limit, and there technically still is. Like, there's a limit on how much you can donate to a politician, because we don't want you, Justin Crafton, to be able to buy influence. But a super PAC, on the other hand, they have unlimited contribution. And so the whatever the this ad was funded by People Against Drunk Driving. They can donate billions to any of these people. And so they have essentially captured that politician. Like, think about it, if a super PAC gives whoever, name the politician, $5 billion, that is their politician at that point.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, and that's what's been happening since 2009.
And how that is happening blows my mind.
Yeah, and it's 100% legal.
How we've allowed that. Just
I heard recently from a senator on an interview. He said right now there are, if you add them all up, there's like 500 members between like the House and Congress. There's 500 whatever representatives, or around there. There's like, anyway, there's the hundreds of representatives that are in DC. There's 1,800 just pharmaceutical lobbyists, and by how they count that are lobbyists that are that have active relationships with these politicians. Like, not just everyone who goes there and calls themselves a lobbyist, but people who are actively making contributions to these politicians. There's 1,800 just pharmaceutical lobbyists in Washington, D.C. right now, active. That's not counting, like I said, the food and drug. It's not all these other, whatever, media, all these other people. It's not even counting them, just pharmaceutical. So we have a failed political system. We have a failed healthcare. We have failed, in some ways, not in every way, but in some ways, we have a very failed judicial system and a very failed.
Is there a country, though, that has a political or legal system that isn't failed, or that is working?
Oh, working? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but we know that I don't know, we didn't start off failed. What would be an example of one that is, what does working mean?
Well, I guess what I mean by failed is, I like, personally, I don't trust it. It's not working as I believe it's intended to work. It's not working efficiently. It's the cost of it is, like, it's just not sustainable. So when I say the legal system is broken, for example, what I mean by that is the legal system has nothing. I don't think it has anything to do with justice. I don't think the system is set up to look for justice. I don't think it's set up to deliver justice. The legal system is, I think, designed to maintain some type of order, some type of rule, but it's not about justice.
Right.
And our political system, well, we've already talked about that. Like, it's designed to represent the people.
Right.
But instead, what's happening is the leaders are getting very, very wealthy by representing special interests in corporations.
Yeah.
So I guess an unfailed version of that, or a non-broken version, would be a representative, a president, who serves the people and the interest of the nation, And I do think it's like, I know that I would be labeled as a nationalist, and I don't know that that's a bad thing,
Sure.
but I do think it's important for the nation's leaders to focus on the nation, to focus on the nation that they're elected to lead. And I get that that means you're going to have relationships with other countries. You're going to have relationships with other leaders. You're going to have to get involved in some things, but not to the degree that I feel like we are. Like I care about my neighbors. I really do, but I'm paying the bills for my house. I'm not kicking in their door to settle their disagreements.
Right.
I'm dealing, and if their disagreements, if they start fighting and it comes into my yard, or like somehow they start affecting my family, my house, well, yes, I'll deal with it. But outside of that, it just seems like common sense that your focus is on your house, your household.
So when Mike Johnson, the current Speaker of the House, he came in over some controversy this year. When he first came in as Speaker of the House, he said, our number one objective is Israel and Palestine. It says, under my leadership, the number one objective of the House of Representatives is securing peace between Israel and Palestine. You have started off at a failed position, in my point of view. Like, no, that is not your number one objective. That is not your number one.
It's not my number one concern.
No,
as a U.S. citizen.
Well, and I would think, as he's a representative from Louisiana, I would think your number one objective would be the people of Louisiana, sir.
You would think. If I voted for him in Louisiana, that would be my expectation.
Right. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, of like, obviously, I don't know. And so like universal health care, and even to an extent, universal basic income. And I don't know what that looks like, and I haven't fleshed it all out, but right now I like the idea of a universal basic income because I think we could afford it. Like, I know we could, if we stopped giving money, trillions and trillions of dollars. Go ahead.
Here's a better idea. What if we stop giving trillions and trillions of dollars, and we stop taking trillions of dollars in taxes from the citizens?
Woo! Yeah.
So yes, we can afford it. We can afford a lot of things, but the only reason we can afford it is because we're stealing it. So we quit sending all that money out. We quit taking all that money that we're currently taking. And then I think that lowers our bills, and then that lowers how much income we need to bring in. And I think
we don't let anyone else in, at least for a while. We close the door for immigrants. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that we could stop taking all that tax money.
Yeah, we sure could.
That would be fantastic. But again, there's so many industries that depend on it that, if you shut down programs in the government, then people are going to lose jobs, people are going to lose funding. And
so do you remember when Ford and GM had to get bailed out by, was it Ford and GM, or was it GM and Dodge?
I want to say that Ford didn't take any bailout money, but I don't remember. One of the companies or somebody bragged about it, but even back then I was like, there was a couple different bailouts in our lifetime. There was the big banking bailout. Remember when all the big banking institutions were going to go belly up? Yeah.
And both of these were under President Obama that I remember. We said they're too big to fail. And so the U.S. government bailed them out, gave them billions of dollars. Same thing happened with the automobile industry. Is there something that's too big to fail, you think? Like, would the industry around lobbyists and insurance and all this, like, because there's kind of a law enforcement industry in the U.S. too.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Which is one of the reasons why I just don't think, like, agencies need to be able to seize hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Because that pays for training, and that pays for trainers, and that pays for equipment and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you just stopped the trade and you made it not worth billions of dollars a year, well, now people are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And which I think is fine. Like, it's great. It's great to not have to have a security guard because you don't have security problems. Like, that's a good problem to have. I'm just saying I don't think that people don't have a motivation. The government doesn't have a motivation to fix our problems. I think the government has a motivation to make our problems bigger so it can get bigger. So
See,
it can take. Good.
I think about this when we've talked about this before, but I think it relates how there's not really a police force. There's just that officer that you're getting. It's just people. It's just a big group of people. So, yeah, like I don't know. I kind of lost where I was going with that, but it's more on the individual level. If you look at it on the individual level, like I'm not giving millions of dollars to this organization. I'm giving millions of dollars to that guy and who he decides to pass it out to.
Yeah.
What are there things too big to fail though, do you think? Like, is that industry what would be the damage of if we automatically said, like, okay, there's no more private insurance. The US is going to pay everybody's medical bills. What would be the fallout?
My initial concern would be corruption in the government. And even though I think private insurance is a scam, and I think that it's probably criminal, at least in, I think the desire is criminal, you know.
Don't me and you both know some insurance salesmen?
Yeah, sorry, buddy. So the question is, what would happen if the government took over that? I would be concerned that the government, the insurance, or the government, the providers would be just as crooked as the insurance companies and the providers.
Yeah.
I guess I think you got to take a hit. Like, people are going to lose jobs, and industries are going to fail, and we'll have to create new industries and different types of service and all that. But and maybe it's because I don't sell insurance, but I think that's a good loss.
Yeah.
Not all loss is bad. I think it would be great to downsize law enforcement. Just because we don't need it right now. We need it. So I don't think we should.
You especially do there in Wichita. It's the Wild West.
It's a shooting every night.
Every night.
So I don't think we should depolice. I don't think we should take funding from law enforcement, anything like that. I'm just saying, I wish that we could. I wish that calls for service were so low that, you could only have 4 deputies on third shift. That'd be awesome. Until we get there, though, I don't think.
Well, what so I know it's different because obviously scale, but like some agencies, I've spoken with officers from other agencies where literally all they do on a typical night is sit in the squad room and watch a movie and wait for calls to come out, and then they respond to those calls. If all third shift did was sit in the squad room and wait for calls, how many people would you need on third shift, you think? You need enough people to break up a bar fight.
I would want at least 4, so you could send 2 deputies, in different parts of the county. And then I would rely on townies to assist.
Yeah. But that could work, right?
I mean, it could work until it doesn't. It could work until, and we obviously there were nights we did that where people called in sick or people had to go home, whatever, people on vacation, and so we had minimum staffing, and there were times when we were below minimum staffing, and
right.
Yeah, it works. Or sometimes
or we're just lucky that it worked.
Well, sometimes the bottom falls out, and you got to call people in. You got to call first shift in early, or maybe you got to have second shift, stay late. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So I wasn't thinking about law enforcement specific, but I was I've just been thinking a lot about because Afghanistan, the anniversary's coming up, and just how heartbreaking that is for me personally. I've been deployed there. I know people that have died there. I know people that were hurt there. And for that giant waste, and to find out that I'm like, my tax dollars are still going to the Taliban after this. It's just a giant spit in the face, and just so disrespectful, and just I'm literally at a loss for words. There's not enough words to describe how I feel about that. If we stop that, what good could we do? Like, even if it's programs that I think that I wouldn't have historically agreed with. Like, I've kind of considered universal healthcare and universal basic income, like Social Security, as like very liberal and even almost even socialist in nature sometimes. But I don't know why that's a bad thing. Like, it potentially, like, I know uncontrolled socialism is obviously communism, but if, like, these socialism programs, if that's necessarily a bad thing, especially thinking of if we cut off the funding. I don't know. It's just what I've been thinking about in the last.
It's kind of funny that it's not viewed as socialism if you call it Social Security,
Right.
and it's not viewed as basic
Or my
universal
VA,
income.
my VA benefits.
Yeah,
is pretty socialist.
Which is, I mean, it's pretty funny. Just how as long as we talked about this before, as long as it fits it on what your side says, or as long as it's your person saying it, then it's okay.
Right.
Like, we have no problem with some people getting basic universal income.
Right.
Or universal, but whatever the term is.
Yeah.
But only if we call it Social Security, or only if we call it VA benefit or whatever. Sure. I guess the difference would be, people would say, well, yeah, but you worked your entire life and paid into Social Security, or you did your service for the military. Yeah. So I get that. I know that it's kind of comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, and so something I think about, like, and I thought about this whenever you just said a few minutes ago, how the ideal would be stop giving our money out and to stop taking money from people. But I think that kind of leaves out, and I'm not saying this is everyone. I'm definitely not saying it's everyone. I don't even know if it's a majority, but there are some people that are just so far down on the economic rung, and they're in such a generational shitty situation, that I don't know how they get out of that I don't know how they survive without some sort of just fuck them.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know that we need them. No, I don't think money is going to fix that. Income isn't going to fix that.
No, but they do have to have food.
Yeah. But the problem in that scenario, yes, the fact that they don't have food is a problem, and you've got to give them food, but you also have to teach them how to find it, and you've got to give them skills. And I know that's easier said than done, and I know that you run into problems with, well, if I get paid without working, then why? If I get food without working, it's just like at Yellowstone, don't feed the bears because they'll become domesticated. They'll rely on you. People are the same way. So I get all of that. But I don't know if you've got, if you're a park ranger at Yellowstone and you've got a bear that isn't hunting for his food, I don't know if you're like, well, good luck. Or if you're like, yeah, this bear needs it needs us to provide it. I don't know.
I'm not
sure the solution.
I just know that right now it's the most expensive it's ever been to be alive in the United States. Like, it's cost the most it has ever. costs just to be alive.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long we can keep it going without some big changes. It seems like we're getting pretty close to the edge of that cliff.
In terms of what? What do you mean?
In terms of, I don't know how long people are going to be able to live on credit. I don't know how long people are going to be able to spend $5 on, I know
Yeah.
it's not $5 everywhere, but $5 on a gallon of milk and, almost $4 on gas sometimes. I don't know how long people are going to be able to do this.
Well, not for much longer. I
And
think that well is drying up very quickly.
the cost of houses isn't slowing down. The increase.
Somebody posted on Facebook the other day about something like I'm going to stay inside today because going outside costs $300.
Yeah,
And there's some truth to that. Like
sure.
if you leave the house, something's going to cost you a bunch of money.
Oh yeah.
Everything is so expensive. We were talking about this at youth group the other day. I was talking to some leaders. One of my buddies is an irrigation guy, and I was asking him, if we've got a water shortage right now, and I was asking him if that was impacting his business, installing systems. Of course it is, but he was saying that the cost of everything has just gone up so much. The materials have gone up so much that's what's impacting his business. And like we were talking about grass seed. I remember burned in my mind $50 to $70 for a 50-pound bag of seed.
Yeah.
Like it's $175 for the crappy seed at Lowe's. I haven't verified that, but that's what he was telling me. And I remember last year was 170-ish. But it's everything from grass seed to gasoline to my Quick Trip coffee now. Last week it was for a large fresh coffee was $2.21. This week it's like $3.40 something for a cup of black coffee. A Quick Trip.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I was right on this. God dang. So I remember when do you remember 22 long rifles, like a box, a long skinny box of 22 ammo like this? I think it was like 50 rounds. Used to cost 50 cents. A box of that used to cost 50 cents, and then it went to $1, and people were getting like shocked when it was like $4 or $5 for a box of 22 long rifle. I just looked it up. It's $32.99 for that same box of 22 long rifle at Academy.
And you said there was a time when it was 50 cents.
I remember it being 50 cents when I got out or when I was in the Navy. Maybe like around my high school days. Yeah, when I first joined the Navy, it was $22 or 50 cents for a box of 22 long rifles.
Yeah, so I don't know how long that we can continue like this.
Because income isn't going up. And
that's the thing, is that like people on fixed incomes, your retired folks, people that can't work, they're too old to work, they're disabled, whatever, their income has stayed the same.
Right.
But the expenses have gone up. The cost of living's gone up so high, so much faster than the income, that I don't even know what they're doing, how they're doing it.
Living on credit and trying to be as cheap as possible, I think, is how a lot of those folks are. I know a lot of guys my age, especially since like this. I've been in contact with a lot of folks that I haven't been in contact with recently because, us getting back together in the military for some things, for a funeral that I wasn't able to make it to. But there's a bunch of guys my age that are 100% disabled right now from the VA. And the idea of what that program is supposed to be It's supposed to be, okay, now you can live your life, because they even give you extra, little kickbacks for dependents that you have. The idea of it is that you disabled your body in the military. We're going to give you an income and health care to where you don't have to do anything anymore, because some guys are missing legs and arms where they cannot do anything anymore. That's just impossible. That's a pipe dream. Everybody I know that's 100% disabled also has to have other sources of income.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible. Yeah. Unless you were to go to the worst part of town, and even then, I don't know.
Well, I think I told you, and I'm sure you've experienced it, that when I retired, my monthly retirement was enough to pay the bills.
Yeah.
The real estate it just covered extra stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, now the retirement doesn't probably cover half the bills, maybe
Right.
just half. And, again, I'm fortunate that I've got another career and that I've got, I'm able to make it work, but I just don't know how people are doing it if they don't have the ability to work, or if they don't have another career.
Yeah.
I've got about 3 minutes probably before I need to wrap up.
No, that's fine. How long have we been going?
We'll be an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, here in a couple minutes.
I don't know if we really talked about any one thing today, or
I don't think
if we
we
got
ever
anywhere.
talked. I don't know if we ever talk about one thing, or if we ever get anywhere.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
just talk about everything,
Yeah.
and we'll do it like little bits at a time. Yeah, and we'll go back and go over there.
Are you reading anything?
I just decided the other day I got a book at a recent training called, I think it's called The Coaching Habit.
Yeah.
So nothing real deep, nothing real interesting, but I picked it up the other day and decided I'm going to start reading it.
I just started on Plato again. I wanted to go back, revisit Socrates in Plato's Republic.
Yeah. I need to finish that Deepak audio book.
Yeah, I haven't been on that in a while.
I think I want to say I'm around chapter 7 or 8, maybe.
Okay, so yeah.
So I'd made a pretty, it's like an 18 or 20 hour book, I think.
Yeah.
Or recording. So I made some pretty good progress, but haven't finished it yet.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, always good to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, man, good to talk to you. I'm gonna throw up. I haven't posted the last episode. I'll do that today.
Okay.
And
Cool.
Get on this. All right, homie. I'll talk to you later.
Later. Bye.